Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Rohit and today we'll talk about a topic called Agile, and this is the new series we are going to start. And in this series we'll talk about that what is Agile, how it is useful in the ServiceNow, in where we can implement that Agile in our ServiceNow, what are the plugins we need to be installed that in our Agile. Everything we'll talk about one by one. If you need this complete documentation that I'm going to show in the video, you can go and check my website called Snow Expert Rohit, and then in the Snow Expert Rohit, you will get the documentation section. If you click these documentation sections, under this documentation section, you can get these all the document that we have discussed so far in our previous series also. So here you will get that Agile Development 2.0. If you open this Agile 2.0, here you can see the complete development, complete these topics that we are going to discuss one by one. So today we'll basically, before we jump to this, our actual practical scenario, we'll talk about that what is Agile and how this is so much popular in our industry. So in our software industry, or maybe in other all the other fields, the 90% peoples, they are following the method called Agile method, because it's a very quick method, and then it is very user acceptance method for everyone in our industry. They are accepting this Agile method, and it is using for a long time, almost 10 years we are using the Agile method. So for software development, yes, it is very useful, and then it is very acceptable model. So first see that what definition is saying that. So Agile, if you see that what is Agile, so Agile is an iterative approach to the project management and the software development that helps team deliver value to their customer faster and with the fewer headaches. So basically, the what they are trying to say that it's a iterative approach, and then it is used for the project management and development management, and it's quickly it can be delivered quickly, and then it is a and that can help the customer. Okay, so you can see here. Next thing is that instead of being everything on a big bang launch, an agile team deliver work small but consumable increment. So basically, what the agile team do, instead of giving everything the complete product to the customer, they build small part of the things and they deliver to their customer, and then after that it is keep increasing, they are keep delivering that small part, and then after this, after some certain time, it is the development will be completed completely. But meanwhile the user will still be able to use one by one small part, and finally after that they will be able to use a complete project. So basically, most of the company, 90% company, they are using this agile method that I have discussed. How they are doing that? So agile, in this agile work, so let's say that you received a long project, so you received a big large project work. We are splitting into the small chunk, or you can say that iteration, and then that iteration will be assigned to a particular assignment group or particular member. They will complete their work, and then they will release to the customer. Once they release to their customer, they will take a feedback from their customer, and then whatever feedback they will receive from their customer, they will enhance that these things, and then they will release. Meanwhile, after that, they will go to the next iteration, and then they will parallelly work, and then they release that and then take the feedback. So this is how the agile works. So the long project will be divided into the small piece, and then it will be delivered to their customer. Why, let's say that why we need or why we are iterating that. So if you see that nowadays we are running to the digital world, we are working on the digital world, and if you think some idea and you implement after you completely deliver after 2 years or 3 years, and at the end of the 3 years, might be that idea is not that obsolete, that idea is not useful. But meantime, if you deliver this idea in 6 months, a small part, and then you keep on enhancing, that will be more acceptable for the customer. So that's the reason every customer, they are following the agile method. Agile method also have some advantage and disadvantage. We'll talk about that one also. So as I mentioned that agile, it's a frequent delivery. So we can deliver quickly in few days. Okay, and we can take the face to face feedback. So first phase we launch like a building complex. First phase we launch, we take a feedback from the customer, and then same feedback we launch to that phase two. We'll take that feedback and then we launch to the phase two. And it's a very changeable. We can change very quickly. So it is changeable and it's a very quick change. And then it takes minimum time because we divided the big work in a small part of work, and that's the reason it is taking minimum time, and then it will be very quickly changes. So these also have some disadvantage. Let's talk about the disadvantage. It's a less documentation because the times period is a very small. The developer develops something and then they quickly deliver that, so they don't get much time to do the documentation. Difficult to maintain because as you don't have much documentation, it is very you have the less documentations, and then in future it will be very difficult to maintain because you keep on enhancing your you have so many version. You today you created one version, and after 1 month you create release another version, right? So you have the so many versions, so maintainatively there will be high maintainable. So on an average we can say that agile is a very useful, and 90% company or industry are accepting or using through the agile method, and it's a very quickly deliverable product. So that helps their our customer. Okay, so that's it for today. If you have any question, let me know in my comment sections. In next video, we'll talk about that how we can activate the plugins and how we can work actually in this agile method, and what are the terminology we use into the agile method. So thank you very much. Have a great day. Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Rohit, and today we'll talk about that Agile development series second day. In this day, we'll talk about that what plugins we need to install, what are the modules we are able to get that, and what are the things we can get from this Agile. So without wasting time, let's get started. So in our last class, we talk about that what is Agile, and then what details about that how the Agile works. So today we'll first we'll talk about the what plugins you need to install to work with the Agile module. Very first thing you can see that you need to be install that Agile development plugins, which will be available into the ServiceNow module. So very first thing in the ServiceNow, you have to go back to the plugins module from here, and then here you have to search the Agile, and then you have to install that plugins. So now you can see that my complete module is loaded, that plugins module is loaded. And if I search here that Agile development, and you can see this is the plugins which I need to install that. So if you see here, it's install slash update all, in bracket it mentioned the three. So it means that if I install this package, it will be install three plugins. And you can see here it mentioned the three licensed and zero not licensed. This means that to install this plugin in your production environment or in your actual industry, you need to have that license for these three application or three plugins. If I expand that, basically what three plugins are I'm going to install, that very first plugins is the Agile Development 2.0, which is the latest Agile development plugins available to the ServiceNow. Apart from that, we have a Agile Development 2.0 ATF test that I'm going to install, and then this is the optional, but this test help you to, I mean, these plugins will help you to test that. It will install some of the suites, and then it helps you to check that story, epics, all those stuff. So it is optional. You can install or you can just skip that. Apart from that, we have to install that. It will be installed that Agile Development Unified Backlog. Using that, you can maintain your backlog. We'll discuss those points later in our further video, but these three plugins will be installed together if you click install slash update. If you want to just install this one module, you can just simply click that one of the module, one of the plugins called Agile Development, and it will be installed that. So either you take three plugins or three plugins, or you can just install one by one based on your needed. So if you see here, each and every plugins, their ID is mentioned that this is Agile Development 2.0. This is paid service. This ADF is the free services because it will be installed some of the test case or test suite. And then you can see this is the unified backlog, which is also the paid plugin. So On an average, two plugins are paid, one plugin is free, and these three are licensable. And if I go back to that here in the left navigation so far and search with that Agile, I am not getting any module so far because these plugins are not installed. Once I install that, the plugins will be available into the left side, and we'll talk about that. So let's first install this plugin. So if I go back here and click install all, it will be install these three plugins. That's whatever it's showing. And you have a checkbox that load demo data. If you check that, it will be create some of the demo data, like some of the stories, some of the epics demo data. In your production, definitely you should not click this load demo data or to install the plugin. But in non-prod environment, to test that, or in your to see that how it works, you should click the load demo data and then click the install. Once I click install, the installation will be started. So you can see it started installing that, and you can see some of the tables they are creating, the creating table index. So this, it is started and it is creating some of the table. If I click here, you can see their progress one by one in details progress. You can see that also. So once it is low install completely, I'll come back. Now you can see that it's almost completed. The plugins is install is almost completed. So let's wait for a few more seconds and it will be installed quickly. So now you can see that successfully install this plugins. So I just have to be close this and then refresh our complete ServiceNow instance. So once you successfully install and refresh your left navigation, you will be, the complete service instance. If you search with the Agile keyword, you will get that couple of modules which is available. The Agile development is your parent application. Under this application, you have a couple of child modules. So these are the modules, and you can see that this get start is nothing but it will be point to your ServiceNow documentation, guided setup, where you can set the step by step. You can set up your Agile development. We'll definitely set up our plugin, our module one by one. So till the time, thank you very much. Have a great day. If you have any question, let me know in my comment sections. Thank you very much. Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Rohit, and this is the day 3 of the Agile development sessions. In these sessions, we'll talk about that what is the Agile user and how they perform in our ServiceNow instance. So if I go back here in my documentation, we'll talk about that Agile user today. In our last sessions, we successfully installed this plugin and Agile plugin. And in these Agile plugins, there are various modules are available called Epic, Story, Enhancement, Defect, Groups, Product, all those stuffs they have available. So our first point is that we'll talk about that Agile user. We'll not go as much, deep dive that today. But if you see here in the high level, we have high level 7 Agile or 7 Agile user. One is the Scrum user. Who is the Scrum user? Scrum user, a user who doesn't have any um, role or anything. They have, they only have the read access. They cannot write access. So probably this Scrum user only provided certain user who, like a customer, they can read that what is happening to the story. We have many other roles, but we mostly focus on the 7 user. One is the Scrum user, Scrum team member, Scrum release planner, Scrum sprint planner, Scrum master, product owner, and Scrum admin. So Scrum admin is the higher level of full admin privilege on the Agile 2.0. So we'll discuss that one by one. So basically we have high level 7 user, but I am not going to work with all those user. I am going to cut a couple of user, and then I am going to show you that how it looks like that. So very first thing, I am the admin as a system administrator, and then that's the reason I have a full access to the left navigation. Now if I go back to the CC user table, under this CC user table, if I search with the Scrum, I have created 4 basically user. One is the Scrum user, another is the Scrum team member, Scrum master, and then Scrum product owner. These four part I am going to, or 4 user I am going to work with that. So let's see that, as I mentioned, that Scrum user, this is the Scrum user. The Scrum user has very less access, and then Scrum user have only read access. Probably this Scrum user is nothing but the customer of your company. They can only read the story. They can only read the enhancement or defect. They don't have access to write, or they don't have anything to create that. So this is the less privilege that they can only see the record. So if I open this Scrum user here, at that moment this Scrum user doesn't have any role. So this role is completely empty, and you can see this user is active and logged out. False. So let's say that first I'll impersonate that user and see that is there any module available for related to the Agile or not. So what I'll do, I'll click that impersonate another user and then select the Scrum user. So I have successfully impersonated that Scrum user, and once I impersonate that, this pop-up is came up because that user is the new. Now, you guys, somebody will be assumed that some of the user in your platform, they don't have any role. They will simply go to that portal. So that's the expected behavior. Now, what we'll do, the left navigation, if we search that Agile, here you can see the Scrum user or the less user, that the user that doesn't have any role, they cannot simply see the module. So if I search with the Agile, they can't see that. So they will have that self-service module and then couple of module access they have, but without any Scrum role, they can't see anything called Agile development. For that, first what I have to do, I have to give them the Scrum user role. But in the ServiceNow, we normally don't provide any role directly, right? So what we'll do, I'll end the impersonation. So first trigger point, or you can say the first Agile setup, what we have to do as I know that the Scrum user, so probably the they has to has the role called Scrum user role, right? So for the timing, what I'll do, I'll go to the CC user table, and then simply add them to a group, or I simply add them a role. So Scrum user, this Scrum user doesn't have any role. What I'll do that I'll go to the role sections, and then I will add them the Scrum underscore user role. So if I give them that Scrum underscore user role, so you can see related to the Scrum, there are many role we have. So we'll add them the Scrum user role and save that. Once we save that, it inherited certain role. What I'll do, I'll impersonate that user again, called Scrum user, and see if they are able to see any Agile module in the left navigation or not. So if I click here and then search with that Agile, now you can see they are able to completely see all this module with that Scrum user role. And then if I click that Agile board, what will be happen? Let's first see that. So first thing first, the error they are getting that you don't have any backlog. Ask your product owner to share the backlog to you. Sprint planning, if we go back here, you don't have access to sprint planning. You should belongs to Agile group to access the sprint tracking. So there are a couple of restrictions that we are getting, but as we can see that we are not able to see the Agile board. If we go to the personal backlog, there is an empty record. You can't edit that. If we go back to the product, you can see that as I mentioned that the Scrum user only have a read access only. So read access only. So they can see that, this product details here. They can't create or they can't edit that, but everything is read only for them. Now next, if we go back to the groups, you can see a couple of groups are there, but if we open that, everything is read only for them. Now let's go back to this release, and you can see they are able to access each and every module except this Agile board, and then they can't modify anything, so they have only read only access. So very first thing is that what we understand that the first thing, they have the Scrum user role, but they can't see the module, or they can't see the Agile board properly, right? So that's the very basic things that we have learned so far. Okay. Now what we'll do, I'll end the impersonation. So using that, we understand that a Scrum user can access the Agile model, and then the Scrum user have read only access. But what ServiceNow recommended that? ServiceNow recommended that we should not give the role directly to the user. So very first thing what we'll do here, I have go back to the Agile module first here, Agile here. Under this Agile, you can see a groups here. Okay, and these are the Agile groups is available. How we identify that this is the group which are the part of Agile? because group have a field called type. So if you go back to the CC user group table, you have a one field called type. If you add this type field here, there will be a type called agile. Okay, so if you add this add type equal to agile, these groups will be available under this module. Okay, so very first thing that we have to create a agile group first. So for that, what I'll do, I'll click in this module called create agile group. Once we click that, it will be open a catalog item name. Here we need to be create a we need to provide the name and description. So let's say that I in this group I am going to put the name agile, this group name I'm going to give that the agile read only access customer group. So this is the group where the customer will be added, and then they will be able to see they will be able to only access this this agile module. They won't be able to modify anything. And then once we click submit that, the group will be created. Now question is, who can create the group? Product owner or the admin, or the through the automation the group can be created. Now if you see in the top, there is a one pop-up came up that the group created and then scrum underscore user role added. So role scrum underscore user from for these groups. So it means that whenever I create a agile type of group, if the group type is agile, automatically this scrum underscore user role will be added to the group. So you can see the view is scrum view. If I change this group scrum view to the default view, the group that I have created have one role by default added, that is called scrum user. Now my next step is that I'll add this uh, group member equal to my scrum user. So let's say that I'm going to add the user scrum underscore user to this group. So what I'll do, I'll search that scrum underscore user and I'll add this to user to this group. Now you can see this user is added to here. The scrum user is added to a group that we call this agile read only access customer. This group they have added. What I'll do, the role that I have assigned directly the scrum user role, I'll remove that. Okay, I'll simply remove this scrum underscore user role, and then let it be. So for the timing, let's recap that I have created a user, and the user basic need is the scrum user to see this module agile development, to see this application or the left application. They have to have scrum user role. And how this scrum user role will be getted? So there has to be, first you have to create a groups, or you have to add the user you have to create a groups, agile groups, or the user has to be part of any agile group. Then they will inherited the scrum user role, and then they will be able to see this module. So let's finally impersonate that user, the scrum user, and see that user is able to impersonate or not. So I am going to add this scrum, impersonate this scrum user, and once I impersonate that, and if I search with the agile, I can see this module. Right now, previously remember I clicked the agile board, and once we click that, you can see um, um, previously the message was showing here. If I click that backlog, you can see that this message remains same, but you can see that once we click the sprint planning and sprint tracking, it is showing that there is no current sprint, and there is no uh, no backlog right now. Basically previously there was one lock sign, but as once we add it, because you can't add the user to directly to the scrum user role, once you create a agile group and add the user to the agile group, this lock sign will be removed from the user. And although there is no current sprint, that's the reason it is coming the lock sign. But you can see the first step first is that the user has to be part of any of this agile group. Now whatever if you are part of 2 groups, 3 groups, all this group name will be show here in the drop down. And as you have only one groups, and this group name is showing into here. So this is how we can start our agile first steps. In our next video we'll talk about further. So that's it for today. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Rohit and this is the day 4 sessions of the Agile development. In this sessions, we'll talk about that different Agile user. The first day we talk about the Scrum user and we created a user and we give them the role, and based on that they are performing certain actions. They will be able to access the module, the left navigation. Today we'll create that Scrum team member, we'll create the product owner, and then Scrum master. These three we are going to create that. So without wasting time, let's get started. So very first thing is that we say that the Scrum user is the customer who are going to see the read only on the story epic defect. Now we will talk about the Scrum team member. Who is the Scrum team member? The Scrum team member is nothing but the user who are going to develop that in our platform. Let's say that I am the developer and I have the Scrum team member. I can create the story, I can create the epic, I can create the defect. So what I'll do here, I'll go back to the Agile module here again. And under this Agile, you can see that create Agile groups. Here I'll say that Agile developer one. So this is my one of the groups, so developers one. And once you click submit that, this group will have automatically as per our by default the Scrum user. And what else we are going to do, that I am going to add one more role call if I add that Scrum team member here. So apart from the Agile Scrum user, we are going to add that Scrum team member role. For that, I'll just simply add this Scrum team member. So this user is added here. Now in this group member, I am going to add one group. So what I'll do, I'm going to add one user called Scrum team member user. So this team member is nothing but it's a developer. So team member is nothing but an Agile developer to whom we are going to impersonate and see what they can do for the timing. So once we added that user, so I'm going to impersonate that user first here. So I'll click impersonate user and search with that and impersonate that user. Once we impersonate that, this pop-up is coming. I'll just cross that and here I'll search with that Agile, and you can see they can see this complete module here. But if I click the products, you can see they can't create that products. The team member cannot create the product. What they can create as per our says that create and modify access on story, epic, and defect. They can create story, they can create epic, they can create the defect. What is epic, what is defect, or we'll discuss in our upcoming video. But for the time being, understand that they can go to the products, they can go to the groups, okay, then they can go to the release, but they don't have any new button to create that. Okay, they can go to the themes, they can, I mean, these all have, they have read only access. Apart from that, they have options to create the story, and once you go to the story module, you can see this new button is available for them. They can create the story, they can enhance that story, they can create the enhancement, and they can create the defects. So these three things, they have the create access and the modify access, so they can update the status of this defect status or work notes, everything. Similarly, they can update the enhancement details, so you can see that they can update the enhancement status. Similarly, they can go to the story and they can modify that. So the point I'm trying to make here, the team member is actual the developer. They have access to the modify access and create the story, but they don't really access on the theme, and they don't have the theme access or the product access. They can't create theme, they can't create product, they can't create the release. So this is one user called team member. Team member basically is the developer who are going to develop in the developer instance. So in the production, they don't have to have the admin access, so they can just modify these all these stuffs. So that's agile group that we have created. And then next we'll talk about that scrum team member is done. We'll talk about the scrum master. So scrum master can do what thing, they can create, modify theme and release. And the product owner, so first we'll go by product owner, the scrum master will discuss later. So first I'll go back here and again type the agile, and here I'm going to create one more group called agile. Okay, PO group or PO something, that's it. So this is my group name, agile PO. In this group what will be happen, all the product owner will be there. And as we created this automatically scrum user added, I am going to add one more role inside that called product owner. So I'll just click edit and search with the product owner. So you can see this Scrum product owner, I need to add this role. Once we add it, and I'm going to impersonate that, I'm going to add one user also, the Scrum product owner that we have created. So I'll search with that user and add that user to this group. So once we added that user to the groups, I'll simply impersonate this user called Scrum product owner and impersonate. And go here and search with that agile. You can see the similar modules are available, but if we go back to the products right now, you can see inside the product they have a new button, and so that product owner can create their product and then add themselves. So if the user have a Scrum product owner, they have a access or ability to modify the product, update the product details. So you can see this, they can create the product, they can create, update this product, and after that they can go to the release, they can modify the release, and then if they can go to the groups, they can modify the groups, everything they can do one by one. So basically the product owner have access to modify the products, updating that products, everything they have. So they can modify the story, defect, enhancement, everything. Now the finally we are going to talk about the Scrum Master. I am going to create one more group called Scrum Master. So you can go, if I go back to the agile, so agile developer we created, agile PO we created, and then we created one more group called agile read only access. This group we have created. Now we are going to create one more group called agile, I'll just end the impersonation, and I'm going to create one more group called the Scrum Master group. So what I'll do, I'll go back to the here called agile, and then create agile groups. Under this group I'll say that agile Scrum Master. So this group will have for all the Scrum Master, and here I am going to add one role called Scrum Master role, and then add the user to the Scrum Master user. So if we go back to the edit mode here and then search with the Scrum Master, I can see the role, I'll add that role, and under this group member I am going to edit and add these groups or the user. So this Scrum Master user I'm going to add here. So the Scrum Master have this Scrum Master role, and then I'm going to impersonate the Scrum Master and see what access they have. So if I impersonate that user, and search with this agile here, they can see all this, definitely all these details. But if we go back to the products, they can't modify that. The product owner have access to create the product, but Scrum Master doesn't have access to modify the product. So you can see they don't have access to modify the product. They don't have access to modify the theme. They have, if I go back to the epic, they have ability to modify the epic. So basically, Scrum Master have a role on level of the epic, all those stuffs. Now that's all about the user. If I go back to here, the call, that agile details. If you see here, this is the structure we are going to discuss: the product, theme, epic, and then story. This is the hierarchy we have into the agile. We'll discuss this topic in our next video. That's it for today. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Rohit, and today we'll talk about that agile basic stuffs called product, theme, epic, and story. So this is the day 5. In this day 5, we'll talk about the structure of the agile, how they have interrelated. And in our last video, we talk about that what all user is present to the agile and then how they are related with that. So very first thing is that in the last video, we talk about the product. So in the top, we have a product, and product have a user called product owner. So product have a user called product owner who maintain that. The product owner have also access to all this lower module called theme, epic, story. So they can read, write, and edit, and they can create that. So product owner, product is a product is maintained by the product owner who have that scrum underscore product underscore user. They have accessed or modify this whole all these lower module called theme, epic, or story. Also, we do have another role called scrum master. Scrum master have a access on that on the level of the epic. They can modify the epic and they can modify the story. Similarly, we have that team member role, scrum team member. They have access on the story level and they can modify and they can update the story. Similarly, we have a scrum user. Scrum user have all these module to read access. They can't modify or they can't edit anything on this story. So this is how the 4 user we have discussed in our previous sessions. If you have not watched that previous session, I'll request to go and watch my previous sessions. Now today we'll talk about what is the product in our agile. So product is nothing but it's kind of a software. It could be a software or it could be a project in a high level. So a product is nothing but a representation of the features or maybe a high level details called that maybe one of the features or one of the new enhancement, big enhancement. Let's say that you are going to implement a ServiceNow ITBM, right? ServiceNow ITBM. The product is the ServiceNow ITBM. Or maybe you are going to implement that ServiceNow catalog item in your ServiceNow instance. So the product is the ServiceNow, catalog item. That is product. Okay. So if you see this product, in the right side we have an example. So employee portal. So employee portal might be a product. Okay. So you are building an employee portal. So employee portal might be a product. So after product we have a theme. So theme is like a focus area of associated business value. So let's say that catalog management. If you see the definition, it's saying that area of focus with the associated business value. Theme is related to one or more companies' goals. So basically theme is a particular one group or it belongs can be one group or two or multiple groups, but theme is a high level. If you see the employee portal have a catalog management. So this is the how the breakdown is happening. So the top software, this is top features. This is one of the features that we are talking about product, and then after that the next hierarchy or the next breakdown is the theme. After that we have a epic is nothing but a high level definition of the requirement. So let's say that you are building that onboarding catalog item. So there might be multiple epics for a theme. So this is might be my catalog management, and here we can have the onboarding catalog item. Here we can have offboarding catalog item. Like that, we are break down that. So epic is a high level requirement that we are saying that onboarding catalog item. Now under this epic we have a story. Story is nothing but the breakdown on detailed description each and every development that has to be developed by a developer. So that's, let's say that service portal menu link. So the user who have that service portal, they have to have built the links. And in the story, we have to define each and every use case, like what should be the features, what should be the testing case. Each and every details will be defined under the story, and that story will be assigned to a assignment group or development group, and then the story will be assigned to a particular developer. Then we have the backlog. So backlog is nothing but list of work that must be implemented. So let's say that in the backlog there will be thousands of stories. So first we have designed this is our agile, and then we created thousands of story that has to be done one by one, and that will go to the backlog. Okay, once the one once we decided that this story has to be built, that, and if we don't assign to a particular, I mean, we know that this has to be built, but if we don't assign to a when it will be developed, at that case we call that a backlog. So that's all about how the structure is look like, the how the agile structure looks like, and who all can manage this module one by one we have discussed. In our next video, we'll discuss about further more and we'll deep dive more. So that's it for today. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Rohit and this is the sixth day of the Agile training. In this day, we'll talk about that type of the Agile. So basically in the ServiceNow or in the industry, we have two type of Agile. One is the project-based Agile and another is the release-based Agile. So if you see in that my diagram that I have designed here, the left side is the release-based and then right side we have the project-based. So in the top we have the product, and the product is managed by the product owner. So which is nothing but a PO, who is going to be manage the product. Product is available for release based and the project based. Both the cases product is needed. Now what will happen? The left side we have a release base and then right side project base. The project base is, if you see here, the product is directly connected with the release, and then release will be connected to the project, and project will be connected to the agile, and then these agile phases are will be connected to the groups and sprint. So these things we already discussed, or you can say that these things we actually use in our PPM module. So project portfolio management, they have the projects, what they have, the project have that agile phases have the group have a sprint. These things we mainly use for our PPM module called the project portfolio management, that I already covered in my separate playlist. So basically in our class we'll talk about that this release based, we'll discuss about the release based. But if you see that both the cases, the agile dashboard or agile behavior will be pretty much same. Only little bit that difference will be the connection. So comparing between this release based and project based, you can see that slight difference is that this release is directly connected to a project, but this release is connected to a group. So basically between release and group there is a two more step. One is the project, another is the agile phases. So this release is not going to directly connect to the groups. So the release have a project and project phase, and project phase is going to be assigned these groups. Here this is a little bit different. Here directly release is going to be connected to the group, and after that remaining same. So only difference between that project based and the release based is that the release is going to be directly connect with the project and then agile phases, which is not, it is going to be direct. In case of this one, it is directly connected to release to the groups. So that is the only difference. So we are actually discussing both the project based and release based, but their structure and everything is remaining same. So what we'll do just only that we'll just directly connect the release to a groups. So let's see our service now. In the top we said that the product is the top our case. So what I'll do, I'll go back to here, and then if you see that in this under agile we have a product, and these are the products we have available so far. What I am going to do, that I am going to open another tab. In this tab I opened that agile user, and very first thing is that let's understand who can create the product. So we have to, first triggering point is the product. So let's see that who can create the product. Product can be created by product owner and then scrum admin. This person can and that scrum master, they can create the product. So very first thing I'm going to let's say impersonate that product owner here, and product owner is the user who have the product owner. He is going to create a product. So let's say I'm going to Go here, Agile module, under this products. I'm going to create a product. So I'll click new, and under this case, I have to put this product name. So let's say I'm going to implement that ServiceNow ITSM. So I am going to implement that ServiceNow ITSM. So this might be my product, and then this is the implementation project. And then the product owner, you can see by default the current logged in username is came up. I just need to be submit that. So this product ServiceNow ITSM is created, and once we create, open the products, you can see the product. As I mentioned, the product have a theme, epic, story, groups, all this stuff. So if I go back to the diagram, this product directly have a theme, and then directly have the epic, and then product directly have release. So first, what we'll do, we are going to create a release. Now, who can create the release? Let's see that. Now, as per documentation, if you see here, who can create the release? So a release can be created by Scrum Release Planner, who have the release planner role. So this user I have not created. So and you can see the product owner also can create the release. So what we'll do, I am going to create a release under this product by the product owner. So product owner going to create a release. So if I click new, let's say that this product, the ServiceNow implementation product, will be delivered, or this product will be delivered after 6 months. So our start time may be today, okay, or maybe in future date, and it will be ended or after 6 months. So probably this will be our release date, okay. And then this release has to be, I mean, this release can be assigned to a particular member, so who have this agile role. So I'm not going to do that thing. And then release have a capacity. So let's say that in this release we are going to deliver that 100 point, okay. So point can be, what is the point? Point can be in the hoursly, or it can be Fibonacci series based on that your case. The most people they have follow that the Fibonacci series or the hourly basis. So you can put anything. And this short description, I can say that mid release. Okay, so mid release where we are going to release some of this part of the service now. Okay, of this ITSM. Now, with these details, the product owner created one release, and you can see this release got created. And then I'm going to create one more release called uh, final release. So two release we are going to be implement, and these have a timeline. So I am going to define the timeline where it will be start and where it will be ended. The product owner is going to be define that. And these also have 200 capacity maybe, and then this will be released on this particular date, by this date. So these two release got created. Now first thing, we created a product, and product have a two release. First release is the mid release. So in middle of this our project we are going to release certain thing, and finally we are going to deliver the complete project. So two way we are dividing this part in a two way, and then we are going to release that. Now let's see that after release we have a groups. So this release has to be maintained, or this who are going to be released, that we have to define that. So let's open the mid release. Under this mid release you can see we have a groups, and these somebody has to be add inside this group. So the products whatever we have created, the groups we have created, we just need to be add them to this group. So this release needs to be attached to a groups, right? So you can see this diagram, what it's saying, that this product have a product owner. So product owner created product, and then they created the release, and now the groups needs to be attached to the release. So the first who are going to be delivered that. So let's do that. Now you can see this product owner doesn't have any access to these groups attaching options here. So let's impersonate the Scrum master. Under this agile module, we you can see these releases, and we have that mid release that we have created. And in this case, you can see that the Scrum Master have the options to edit and add the group. So what they are going to do, the Scrum Master is going to add the group, which groups is going to be work for this release. So this period, the starting from this whole 6 months, which all groups are going to be worked. So I am going to click edit options here, and let's say that in this whole case, the agile developer will be work, agile scrum master will be work, and then they all will be work together to successfully deliver this release. So this first release that we have created is going to work these four groups. And let's say that if I go back to that another release that we have created, the final release who all are going to work, that four group are going to work. So it's not about the development. They have some meetings, say they have some other stuffs also, so other tasks also. Everyone is going to work for those. So we added everyone. So Scrum Master add the all the releases to a particular groups. All right. So if we go back here, so let's understand again. The product is created by product owner, and then you can see this product is created by product owner, and then product owner define that by which releases these things are going to be delivered. So product owner define that two releases. One is the mid release, and they are going to be final release. Okay. So this by two release we are going to deliver the product. The mid release, probably that some of the 80% task or 50% task will be delivered, where the service now is going, this some of the functionality will be start working, like incident module will be working, the change module will be working, and then final release, the knowledge article, service portal, these things will be delivered maybe. Okay. And then in these two releases, who all are going to be work, the person or everyone is going to work, like there is these four groups member will be work for those two releases. Okay. Also, you can directly add product to a group. So let's say I'm going to add that for better connectivity, we can directly add this group to the product. So I'm going to add these four groups to this product. So product have a direct relationship with everyone. Product have direct relationship with theme, epic, story, release, groups. Everyone have this direct relationship. So now this product have a four group, and these four groups have a release, and then this release have two releases have the four group members going to be work. Okay. Now what we are going to do, this release we have assigned to the groups. Now groups, once the group is created, the groups has to be divided by the sprint. Okay. So let's say that this agile developer, right? You can see that if I open this agile developer, we have to have defined the sprint, okay, by which all sprint these things will be delivered. So what I am going to do, we have a button. You can see this is the button where we can directly create the sprint. So once we click the create sprint, so we are going to define this sprint. Okay. So let's say the sprint name is that meeting sprint. Okay. So meeting first stand-up meeting or startup meeting sprint. So if I open here called product owner, here we are going to create a sprint, and then that first sprint is we are going to discuss that this will be that project initial discussion. Okay. And number you can see that this starting number and then starting date, when it will be start and when it will be the number of sprint, how many sprint we want. So we want one sprint starting from today, and then duration. So normally sprint duration of 14 days, so 2 week sprint. And how much sprint we need, so probably we need the 3 sprint. So we'll define the 3 sprint we need. So we'll just simply click OK, and it will be create the 3 sprint. Once this 3 sprint created, if we open this 3 sprint, so this is the first sprint, and you can see this first sprint is planned started is this date and ended is this date. Okay. And second sprint is that you can say this is the second sprint where after the first sprint ended, this is the second sprint start date, and this is the second sprint ended. So this way, that total 3 into 2 6 week, they are going to discuss about the project initial discussion, that documentation preparation, everything. So one thing you have to notice that the groups directly have access to the sprint, and sprint have the story. The sprint have the story. Okay. So let's say, so this our sprint is created, and you can see that if we go back to these releases, so these two release we have, one is the mid release, another is the final release. Under this mid release, we have a groups. So these agile groups, and these agile groups, PO groups have three sprint for them, three sprint created, and these three sprints sprint for initial discussion. Okay. Now, if I go back and open this other group, let's say that Agile read only access, they don't have any sprint defined for them for the timing. So now, once we define all those stops, we have, you can see the sprint planning. If I click that, it will go to this a board, which is nothing but Agile board. It will go to this Agile board directly. And in this sprint, you can see that in this Agile board, you can see there is a backlog options here. And then you can see that you don't have any backlog. This log sign is showing. And if I go back to the sprint planning right now, if we click that, you can see your backlog is empty. It is showing that your backlog is empty. And if we go back to the sprint tracking, there is no current sprint. This error message is showing. And here, as we can see that I am going to, I am the member of this Agile Scrum Master. I can see this group name called Scrum Master group. Okay. So this issue or whatever log sign you are seeing, that we will be resolved in our next sessions. If you have any question till the point, let me know in my comment section. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Rohit, and this is the day 7 of the Agile development training. In this training today we'll talk about that theme, we'll talk about the epic, and then we'll talk about the backlog. These stuffs we'll talk about. So very first thing is that we'll talk about the theme. So who can create the themes, and when should we create the theme, how the theme will look like that. Those things we'll talk about. Then epic, we'll talk about the backlog stuffs. So these topics we'll talk about first. Before we start that, if you remember that this is the flow I have designed for you guys. So if you see here, the group created by Scrum Master, after that the product created by the product owner, then release created by the product owner, release and the group mapping that can be done by Scrum Master, and then after that we have a sprint created by Scrum Master. Now we are going to create first what thing that we'll create first, that theme. For that, what we'll do, I'll go to this agile model, and then first I'll impersonate that our user called Scrum Master, and try to show you that the Scrum Master doesn't have access to create the theme. So first we'll create a theme here. So if I go back agile here, under this agile we have a the theme, and if you go back to the theme, there is no new button for you. So as a Scrum Master, you can't create the theme, but you have access for epic. So what I'll do, I'll impersonate that product owner, and then create a theme. I'll go to this agile and then create the theme here. And here whatever the theme was there, so our product, if you remember that the product we have created called ServiceNow ITSM, and in this case our theme I am providing that service catalog. Okay, so as I mentioned, that theme is a broader scale, so for ITSM. Okay, so this is might be the theme, and then here I have direct, as I mentioned here, the theme have the direct connection with the product, so we can select the product. So our product is the ServiceNow ITSM. We'll select that as a product here. and then save that. So what happens, so the theme is created, you can see the theme is created with this product. So now if we go back to the product, we'll have this call, understand one more thing, we have two releases, mid release, final release, we have one theme, and then we don't have any epic, we have four groups. So these are the things we have done. So if we go back to the release, mid release here, under this mid release, uh, we have groups, agile prio. Previously I have created the sprint here. Once our theme is defined, that, so we define that high level what we are going to do, we are going to build the service catalog, so that's we are defined in this high level. So now if I impersonate that as a our if I go back to that here and then impersonate our scrum master. So as you know, the scrum master is the governing body who is going to manage the whole team of this, in this case. So if I go back to here in this agile, and then if I go back to the agile board, they are unable to see, they can see the sprint backlog, sprint tracking, and then the backlog. If they go back that backlog, it's showing that you don't have any backlog. Ask your product owner to share the backlog. So backlog, first we have to define the backlog. Why should we define that backlog? So in the backlog, all the story, all the epic will become come to this backlog. So whatever story and epic or maybe the defect doesn't have any sprint, those will become as a backlog. And then once it will become to the backlog, the sprint scrum master will be define that. Also if you see that, if I go back to the sprint planning, it is showing all this group the Scrum Master is part of. So Agile Scrum Master, he the one group that we have created, and inside that the user cannot switch other groups, right? So for that, what we have to do under these groups, what I'll do, I'll add this Scrum Master to all these group, Agile Developer group, Agile PO group, Agile Read Only groups. Everywhere I'll add this the Scrum this user, Scrum Master user. For that, I'll do end impersonation first. Type Agile here. Under this Agile, we have a groups. For the time being, I'm going to add this under this Agile developer. So what I'll do, I'll add our Scrum Master here. So I'll add the Scrum Master here. Okay. So the Scrum Master is added to the group. So next task is that once our theme is created, now we have to define. Once our theme is created, now we have to define the epic. So who can define the epic? The epic can be defined by the product owner, or maybe it can be Scrum Master. So Scrum Master can define the epic. Scrum Master can define the epic, or the product owner can define the epic. So let's say that we are going to create, I'll impersonate that the Scrum Master, and then going to the Agile here. And under this Agile, now I have to create the epic. So I am going to create one epic call, let's say, here I'll select that end user catalog item. And this time I'll select the product here. So I will select the product equal to ServiceNow ITSM, and this is the end user catalog item. And another epic I'm going to create that called IT user uh, you know catalog item. Okay, so we don't have insert and stay option, so I'll copy this one and then going back to this epic and create one more epic. And here I'll select that ServiceNow ITSM. So we have two epics right now. One epics that we have created, I'll add number j to it. So we have created, so I'll go back to this product again, that product we have created. Under this product, we have two release, one theme, two epics, and then these groups are there. Fine. Now, what I'll do for better understanding, I will the previously I created the sprint under this Agile PO. Let's say I am going to create the sprint under this agile developer. So I'll click the create sprint here, and then I'll say that development phases. Here I'll select the starting date and the number of sprint. I'll select that two sprint I need. So two development sprint I want. So I'll click that. So it will create two sprint. Okay, fine. The sprint is defined. Now what will we do? I'll end the impersonation. So what so far we have created? We have created the theme. We have created the epics. Now it's high time to create the story, right? So we can directly create that story, but before that we need to define the backlog. So whenever the story will be created, and then there will be no sprint will be there, it will become to as a backlog. Backlog means that the story that doesn't have any sprint, that we call the backlog. So who can create the backlog? The product owner can create the backlog. So for that, what I'll do, I'll impersonate the product owner, impersonate user, and then product owner, and impersonate here. And here what I'll do, I'll go to this agile, and under this agile you have an option called personal backlog. So once we click the personal backlog, we need to define that personal backlog. So I'll click new, and then say that ServiceNow backlog. Now backlog can be multiple backlog can be created. Let's say this case, this for the story we are going to create one backlog, and here we need to define that to whom we should to whom we should the group should be visible. So let's say we have all this group I am going to add called Scrum related. So I'll select that the Scrum developer, then we have Scrum Master, we have Scrum PO, and then we have so everyone will be able to see this backlog and submit that. So our backlog is defined. You can see this is the backlog that we have created so far. Under this backlog, once this backlog is created, there will be no more log sign under this. So if I impersonate right now here call Scrum Master and impersonate the user, under this here, if I go back to this agile, and then under this agile, if I click the agile board, now if I go back to the backlog here, I can see all these backlog right now, that all these epics are showing right now. You can see these are the epics that is showing right now, and these are the story is showing right now. Okay, so we can define or narrow down more, like that epic should be, or maybe theme should be like that, and we can define that in narrow down. So now right now you can see this is the back in this backlog, these are the records or story so far we have. Now what we'll do, I just want to rectify, or I just want to specify only only that theme, or only those story which have the epic is like service catalog related. For that, I'll go back to again that here, and modify that backlog that we have created. So here you can see this is the condition we have. I mean, by default populated. What we can do, we can here we will say that epics is end user catalog, and we have, or maybe epic is IT user catalog. So these all epic should be available only, nothing else. So we define that. Now if we go back and impersonate that our user call, let's go back to Scrum Master and then impersonate that, the user won't be able to see anything on that backlog. So let's go back to this agile board here, and if we click that agile board, so you can see we don't have any record at all, right? So the backlog is empty. Now we have to create the story, and then we need to, once we create the story, that will become as a backlog, and then we need to do the sprint planning to move that to sprint. Okay, so let's say I'm going to create a story. So Scrum, I mean, most of the user have access to that creating the story. So I'm going to create a story called, let's say I'm going to create a story here. So this is under end user. So you can so change that to end user or other called IT user also that we have created. So let's say that IT user, the theme we have created the service catalog. We are going to select that. Under this short description, what we will do, we'll select the short description. Let's say that build catalog item for ITIL user to raise new group request. So in the story, each and every point will be mentioned. Acceptance criteria will be mentioned. What will be the acceptance criteria? Everything will be there. And then they once we submit that, you can see the story will be created, and this story is under uh, backlog. And you can see the no story point. It means that this story doesn't have any story point, and you can see this is the point, and this story doesn't have no acceptance criteria. So so whatever story doesn't have any acceptance criteria or no point, it will be shown like that. So you can, I mean, as a scrum master, you can update those details, like we can update that, the acceptance criteria, whatever we have that acceptance criteria, we can define here. And here we can define the point. So let's say that I can put the points equal to 5 point story and save that. Once we save that, um, you know you can see this no story or no acceptance criteria is gone because there is a 0 0. Now similarly way we can create epic, we can create the story, and then you can see I can see only one backlog. The product the this user, scrum master user, can only see one backlog because this is the only backlog that is shared by the product owner. So that's the thing. Now we have to go to the sprint planning. So once we go to the sprint planning, we will be able to do the plan for the sprint. Right now you can see that we are showing that only one IT service catalog. So this is showing IT service catalog. That the end user catalog are not showing because we don't create any story. So I'm going to create one more story called end user. So here I'll select the theme is service catalog, and then this is called end user story, something like that. And I'll select that here, and then point, I'll say that 5 point. Now remember that once we are creating the story, we don't have options called selecting the release and sprint. So that's the one thing. And then once you submit that, so this story will be uh, created, and you can see that right now it is showing the left side the epic wise. You can just select any of this epic, and then it can be filtered. So you have many story, you can filter them by epic, or you can filter them by all. So this option will be available. So Scrum Master can modify those stories. Scrum Master can update those story based on their requirement. So that's it for today. In our next session, we'll talk about the sprint planning. So if you have any question, let me know in my comment section. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Rohit, and this is the day 8 of the Agile development training. In this training, we'll talk about the sprint planning and sprint tracking. So previously we created a two story, and then we created the epics themes, all those stuff. So let's recap quickly. So far we have done that, created the theme. After that, the product owner created the product backlog, and then Scrum Master created the epic, and then story. These are the things we have done. So one thing I just want to highlight, that the theme and then product backlog, I mean theme and then epic, they don't really have any connection. So theme can be available for different product. One theme can be applied for different products. So either you can use the theme or you can skip that. It's optional. So you can use the theme, or you might not be used. Theme used for that, reporting purpose. So if you want to use the theme, that's fine. Otherwise, you can skip that. Now today we'll talk about, once the story is created here, the story goes to the product backlog. Product backlog means that the story doesn't have any sprint attached to the story. Okay. Now what we'll do under this, you can see this. We have a two option. One is the sprint planning, and another is the sprint tracking. Okay. So what is the sprint planning? Sprint planning means that you can see that we are planning to start, or you are planning for a sprint. Before we start to our sprint, we are planning for that sprint. Okay. So under the sprint planning, if you see that the sprint planning is used for planning the sprint, so we are planning to a particular sprint. So you can create the sprint, but we already create the sprint, but those sprint are not available because the groups, um, the sprint we have created for agile development and agile PO. So I am member of this agile development, so that's the reason the sprint is this all are showing right now. We have two sprint. One is the development phase one, another is the development phase two. These two sprint we have created last sessions. Now we sprint planning used before we start the sprint. Basically, everyone came up and then they planned that how much point we should use, and then we have that sprint tracking. Under this sprint tracking, we can define that how the sprint is going on for that. So let's see first. So if you see that under this backlog, there are two story, but if I go back to the sprint planning, those two story are not showing because the story that we have created doesn't, we don't put that assignment group. For that, what they have to do, so they have to open this story, and then that story has to be assigned to for assignment group. So let's say that I am going to put that agile development for this story, and let's say that this is ready for that, ready. Once we mark that ready, acceptance criteria is mandatory, and save that. So this story is ready. So this story is ready right now. Now without opening those story, you can directly assign to a particular assignment group. So you can just click this icon. By clicking this icon, there are various options called assign to, assignment group, epic, sprint. So if you just simply click the assignment group, all these assignment group will be available. So I will select that agile development. So all this story has been updated. Now, right now, if we go to the sprint planning, you can see those three story are right now available. Now, first thing first, what we'll do, as the sprint planning, what we'll do, we are going to plan that this story is important, and then we have to be build this story first. So we'll drag that story here. So based on our use cases or priority, we decide that this story will be go to this phase or this sprint, and this is less priority or maybe dependent, so it will be go to this sprint. So we define or we discuss during our sprint call, and then we have options called start sprint. After finalize or after define everything, we can click the start sprint to start the actual the sprint. If we go back to the sprint tracking, it is right now is locked because there is no active sprint right now. So once we click the start sprint, that lock sign will be go away. So I'll click that start sprint. Once we click the start sprint, it will be go to this, it will directly show this sprint tracking. This sprint tracking will be enabled. And as a scrum master, you can discuss with the certain point with your team, and you can see this story are unassigned right now. The story can be moved from one board to the another board, and once you move that, is that if there are any mandatory field that it will be come up as a pop-up, and that mandatory field has to be filled up. So you can see that it is showing that acceptance criteria is mandatory. We need to just put the acceptance criteria here. So we'll probably put the acceptance criteria, and then we just need to be select the user to whom that they should work, and then save that. Okay. So right now you can see it is showing the SM. It means that that is the user, and then so this is the storyboard, and where we can move the story from one place to the another place, like one state to the another state. Okay. So this is how we can move that the story. Under this sprint planning, you can see it is showing that total um, how many story point we are going to work for this sprint. This is the timeline. From this date to this date we should work that. Total point is 10. 0 point is done. and 10 is left, means that none of this point, none of this story till yet completed. Okay, so that's it for today. If you have any question, let me know in my comment section. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Rohit and this is the day 9 of the Agile Development Training. In this day, we'll talk about the sprint tracking. So last day we talked about the sprint planning, how we can plan our sprint. Today we'll basically talk about the sprint tracking. So let's say that I'm going to, right now I'm in the ServiceNow system administrator profile. I'm going to impersonate one of the user that call that Scrum team member. So far we have discussed the Scrum user, Scrum product owner, Scrum master. So today we'll discuss about the Scrum team member and how we can uh, track our sprint. For that, even Scrum Master also can track that. For today, we'll take a point of view of the Scrum team member. I'm just going to impersonate the Scrum team member right now. Once you impersonate Scrum team member, the Scrum team member is nothing but that member who are actually going to work for the development purpose. Let's say that some developer. So here I'm going to type that Agile, and then once we click the Agile board, under this Agile board, last day we talked about the sprint tracking, and we discussed that the Scrum master have the button called here called start sprint, and they can end the sprint or complete the sprint. As a Scrum team member, you can create the you can create the story, and you can that story will be created into the backlog here. So you can create the story for a very obvious case. So you can just click here and then create a new story. I'm going to create a new story called so new story. And here, you can define the product as well as, so let's say that ServiceNow. And here you can define the epic and then theme, whatever is you needed. Now submit that. So this story, story creation ability has this story creation ability have for that the Scrum team member or the developer, they have the ability to create a story. Let's say that whatever story is there that is not sufficient for them, so they can definitely create the story. Now one thing you notice that if I go back to the sprint planning as a other user, so it is not showing that sprint planning because might be it is not fulfilling that that condition. Now what we can do here, you can see I don't have much choice here in the sprint planning. This that uh, Scrum Master have much flexibility here for planning the sprint. If I go back to the sprint tracking, I am a developer, or you can say that I am the Agile team member. I can move the story from one phase to the another phase. So for the example that, let's say that I am the developer and my development stuff is done. I can move this story work in progress to that ready for testing, and I can move to that testing like further process. So I can move this story one by one. So if you see that in this sprint tracking, we have a three options. One is the storyboard. Under the storyboard, we can see the story, all this story, which is under the current sprint. Our current sprint is that this is the agile development um, groups, and this is the current sprint we are running. So this current sprint is the development phase 1. This sprint is running right now, our case. And here this is the current sprint, and here what we can see, we can move the story one by one based on that. And this is the groups that we belongs, the agile groups, developer group, and these groups have the visibility of this member. Okay, so under the storyboard we can see all this story which is present to this current sprint, and then we can move this story one by one in a different phases. If we want additional story creation, you can directly create a story here, because a developer, maybe you need a separate story for dependent story, you can create that. Now if you go to the task board, under this task board you will be able to see all these stories tasks, each story. So you can see right now we have two story, and these two story doesn't have any basically tasks. If I go back to this in backend called rm underscore story table, and if I open that, So let's say that I'm going to open this end user story. So this end user story that we are seeing, that this is the end user story. Under this story, we have a options called Scrum task. This Scrum task is nothing but the task board that you are seeing. All are right now. This story doesn't have any Scrum task. That's the reason it is empty. So in the backend, you can just click here and then create the Scrum task if you need, or the developer need, that they can directly click this button and then create that. So basically we have four type of Scrum tasks. So you can see that analysis Scrum task, coding task, Scrum task, documentation Scrum task, testing Scrum task. And you need to define that how much task you need it. So let's say that for analysis, you need one, and then for development or coding, you need two. And you just simply click OK. And this task will be created and attached to this story. You can see this task will be created and this they are attached, and their type is also attached right now. Now, if we refresh that, or you don't need to refresh that, you can see this under this story, you have this many tasks. So this is the task. So if you under the storyboard, so this is the storyboard where all the story will be showing, and then under this task board, it will show all these tasks based on the based on that story. So for this story, end user story, we have a three task, and then this task can be moved from one phase to the another phase like that. So if you are maintaining the task, so it can be moved one task to the another task like that. So let's say that you move these all these tasks one by one. Okay. If you need additional tasks, you can simply click plus sign, and then you can just put the short description, and you can define the type, and then you can see the story name is by pre-populated with the end user story, and you can define the short description called, let's say that testing story or testing, and here you can change to this testing, and then submit that. This way you can move the you can build this so if I move that, there is one mandatory field here, so that's the reason it is popping. So any mandatory field, if you move that certain phases, it will show that. So you can see you have a testing result called pass field. You just need to be put that and save that, and then you can see that under this story you can see all these details are present here. Okay, so if you need any additional information, you can simply click here, and you can directly land to this particular story. So this is the story view, and these four tasks are already done or completed right now, you can see. So this way it is a relationship between the story and story task board, and this task board is only show the task. Now if we click the list, under this list you can see all this story, you can see this all this story and their related tasks. So you can see this end user have a four task, and their status is defining that this is the status, and this is the story status which is in testing state, and these tasks are assigned to this person, and then you can see their name are showing, and then when you hover over that, this complete name is showing. Here you can add additional filters. So this is the list view, and this is the the graphical view. Under this personalized icon, if you want to add any additional field under this Scrum task, you can add that, or you can collapse that. Even you can if you want, you can collapse those details. Okay, so this way you can you can move your story, your task. Now let's see that if you see this sprint planning, the total point is 10. Each story have 5 point, and done is 0 and left is 10. Once we completed one of the story, let's say that this is the story or the first story, we are going to complete that. So testing, it is in testing phase. We will complete this story. Once we complete that, and if we go back to the sprint planning, you can see the total point is 5. 5 is done, 5 is left. It means that 5 point is done, 5 point is more to be completed. Okay, so let's end the impersonation, and I'm going to impersonate the Scrum Master again. So Scrum Master and impersonating here. And if we go back to this Agile board again, And as a Scrum Master, you can see that you have a button called Complete Sprint. Once you click the Complete Sprint, it means that this sprint will be completed, and it is clearly defined that right now the story point was 10, 5 is done and 5 is left. You can click here to see under this native view called list. So that's if you want to show, you can just click that. So let's say I click the complete sprint. Once we click the complete sprint, what it is showing that one story is completed, zero story is cancelled, one story was incomplete. It means that the first story, one story got completed, but one story did not complete it. So select the incomplete story should be moved. So where should I move this incomplete story? The story that we have completed is the top one end user probably that, but that another story is not completed. So if we try to complete this sprint, where should I move that another story which is not completed? I can move this story to the backlog if I want, or the next development phase or next sprint. So let's say that sometime what happened, some story did not complete it. What do we want to do? We want to move them back to the backlog, or we want to move them to this our next sprint. So let's say that I will select the next sprint name and complete it. Once that is done, or once that sprint is done, this that sprint is not showing. Now it is showing the second sprint which we have created, and one story moved from sprint 1 to the sprint 2, and this we can, as a scrum master, we can start the sprint. Once we start the sprint, it will open the sprint planning tracker, and here we can again track that. So at that moment, we have completed one sprint, and under this sprint, we have completed one story. One story did not complete it, or maybe incompleted. That's the reason we moved that sprint from sprint 1 to the sprint 2, or development phase 1 to the development phase 2. Now let's see that what happens in the backend, because this sprint, that whatever we have completed, is not showing anymore here. So what we'll do here, we'll go back to this first call groups. Under these groups, you can see that agile development groups where we are working on that last time. We don't define the group capacity. So I'm going to group capacity here, call 30, and just update that. So normally that group capacity was defined, but right now it was blank. I just added. If we open this here, and you can see the group capacity is right now updated, and here you can see that this is the sprint that we have completed, and this is the sprint which is in the current sprint, which is nothing but development phase 2. So this sprint is completed, and this is the running sprint. So if we open this current the previous sprint, let's see what was that total committed point at that moment when we started that sprint. The committed point was 10. So it means the total point we have defined that 10, and then current scope point means that the how much point we have covered and how much completed we have. So basically both are the same. It have the 5 point that we have completed because one story moved from this sprint to the another sprint. It means that it is clearly defined that one story or some of the story was incomplete, which is moved from this sprint to the another sprint. Now this sprint have a start date, ended, everything was showing. The group point or group point capacity was not updated because the time the sprint was created, that time the group capacity was not updated. We just updated that. So if we go back to the next one, you can see that the total committed point is the 5, and if you can see that total committed 5 is the 5. The next story doesn't have any point, so that's the reason it total committed point is the 5. The current scope of the point is the 5, and because this is the current scope and it is current sprint, so that's the reason the completed point is not showing right now. So that's it for today. If you have any question, let me know in my comment section. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Rohit, and this is the day 10 of the Agile Development Training. In this day, we'll talk about that unified backlog. So what is unified backlog and how useful for the unified backlog? So let's say that in your current situation, it can be create the incident. some cases it can be create the defect, and all these can be converted to a story. Let's say that you got an incident from your customer, and then that can be potentially converted to a story, because that is the incident because of your some development work, and that is actually issue for your platform. So you can convert this incident to a story, and you can manage from the unified backlog. For unified backlog, you need to install a plugin. So this plugins you have already installed in our package. If I go back to the plugins, under this plugins, and this package Agile development, we have already installed that in our first day. And then you can see this unified backlog, which is already predefined installed. So we don't need to do anything for that. So it is already installed. So this unified backlog is installed. What we have to do, we can just impersonate that our product owner that we have created, and we have defined a product backlog, right? So where there we can go back. So I just impersonate the Scrum product owner that we have created, and under this we can go to this Agile module. We have a backlog that we have created, personal backlog. Under this backlog, the ServiceNow backlog that we have created, you will have a one option called triage definition. So this triage definition is nothing but that you can define that which kind of record you are going to convert to um, your story. So you just click the new options here, and here you can, let's say that if it is incident and you can convert that incident to the story, you can select that. So let's say that I'm going to select the incident here, and I'm putting the name is incident. Okay, and submit that. Once we click that, this triage definition is added here, and you can create multiple triage definition. So let's say that somebody can create also defect. So let's say that defect, you can define that defect also and save that. And definitely you can put the condition based on your criteria and submit that. So one thing you notice that under this product, I have not although mentioned that in under the product personal backlog, once you are trying to create that, you don't have any options to change the story or change that option to the table, because the backlog is all about the story. So we can't change the table name under this backlog. But in this triage definition, we can put that which kind of data we are going to triage, or which kind of data we are going to convert as a story. So we can say that incident can be converted as a story, defect can be converted as a story. So let's say that in a real-time scenario, in a production one incident came up, and you analyze the incident, and that incident can be converted as a story. Might be the story is all about the documentation or analysis, or might be it is all about the development. You can go that. For that, what flexibility we are getting, that we just have to go back to this Agile board. Under this Agile board, so this is all about that maintaining our backlog, right? Now if we click here, we have a defect 2 and incident convert count is 0. Why incident count is 0? Let's go back to this incident table and see how many incident, isn't there is any incident. Probably you can see there is blank, because this user, this Scrum product owner doesn't have visibility, or that doesn't have read access for certain incident, which is they are not belong. So that's the reason the user cannot see that. So let's say that one incident created and submit that, so that incident record have visibility for that our user. Once this incident got created, if we refresh that triage board and click new, and here you can see the total count is showing. This is the total count that we can try. So in defect, we have a 2, and then incident is 1. It means that these two defect can be converted to a story, and this is the incident that can convert to a story. So let's click the defect first, and then once we can see that we have options. Once we select that these two all or one, and click add to backlog. Once we select the add to backlog, this story or this defect will be converted to our and convert it to a story, and that will be added to our backlog. So if I go back to this agile board one more time, there will be a new story which is in backlog, and that is created from a defect. There is a number which is showing the defect number, and this is the defect which is added to our backlog. But this defect have a corresponding story. So this is the originated defect. For this defect, we created a story. This is the story, and you can see the original task number, which is nothing but a defect number. So basically this is the way we can convert our any particular incident or any particular story to or particular defect or incident to a story. And then you can prioritize in our sprint planning meeting. We can prioritize, and then we can move those. So this is all about how we can use the unified backlog, how we can convert our actual a data or actual incident problem change to to our you can convert to a story. So if you have any question, let me know in my comment section. Thank you very much. Have a great day.